Welcome to the video Searches, refining queries to find that needle in the haystack. In this video, we're going to take a look at using existing values to filter for a value or to filter out values. We'll look at our top aggregations and our popular terms, as well as use our search bar for custom queries. So filtering is kind of the easiest way to dig into Kibana to find data that exists. It's based on data that's already there, so it's kind of show me more like this, or I don't want to see anything else like this. So you can filter in to find things that exist, or filter out to show everything else except for what you're looking at. And I'll show you how all that works in a second. It's really easy to use. You'll see these magnifying glasses with pluses and minuses all over the place. What I've found this really helpful for is drilling into data. So if I'm looking for a certain session or a web request or something like that and other data related to it, I can go and look for a specific value and start drilling in. All right, now that we're back in the Discover tab of Kibana, you can see I've got all the existing data. Now you might also notice that Kibana interface has changed. So since recording this, Kibana 6.1 has come out. So some things are a little different, but all the constructs we're looking at will be the same here. So let's start by building out a kind of a little dashboard that we like and will make sense to us. So we're looking at these metric beats from the metric beat application on our server. So we can say we'll look at the host name. We want to look at the beat name. Look at the module, namespace. So these are the kinds of things I like looking for. There seems to be a lot of empty pieces of data in here. So let's first look at how we can filter by a value. So you'll see up in the left-hand corner of my selected fields, which match to the column names in my table. So let's find everything else about process summary. So we'll click on this expand, and we can scroll down and we can find that value of process summary. So that's the metric set name, metric set name space. So if you look at the little magnifying glass to it, it says filter for a value. So if I click that plus, now I'll only get results with the metric set name of process underscore summary. And that's what all these are. So it's a different way of turning off that than just deleting the filter. If you uncheck it, then you can use it again later. So let's see if we can find other things. Let's look at CPU load. So let's add that column. And let's see, again, we've got all this extra stuff. Let's look at some CPU loads. So here I can see it is a metric set name of load. Metric set name space, that's what I wanted to show. So if I click on the filter for value, now I should only see things that are metric set of load. So I'm going to take out this namespace, because it's not what I thought it was, but I'm going to add the metric set name, which is what I thought it was. So now I see all my metric set names here, and I've got the metric set name with just load. So I've got my values over time, and I see only what I wanted to see. Well, that's great. So if we were collecting from multiple systems, say in this case, my host name is Elasticsearch 6. If I had another one called Elasticsearch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can use the filter out values to remove some of them. So I could click here, expand, and say, okay, I see this beat host name is Elasticsearch 6. I want to see everything else. So I would filter out that value of Elasticsearch 6. And you can see what it does up here in the header. It adds the not beat host name Elasticsearch 6, which interestingly enough, you can do in the search bar as well. So you can do not beat.hostname, colon, then the exact value in quotes, and I can search like that. If I turn off that search, it's the same thing. Then I can turn off that. And again, I'm not getting any results because I only have that one server. So we can use the search bar to run the same query. So now I'll do the opposite. I'll take out the not, and you can see that here I'm going to filter for records that have the beat hostname of Elasticsearch. Great. So again, let's turn on our load filter, and I'm going to show you another way to do a little different search up here. So I'm turning on the load filter again. So again, I have only load. So what I'm interested in, let's make this up as we go along. I'm interested in kind of the peak loads. So I'm looking, we got a lot of zeros. Okay, we'll go through the 0.1s are kind of the ones I'm interested. So what I can do up here, I can change my query to say system load norm 1. And I can do a range in these brackets. I can say from 0.1 to 100, just to get the top range. Click search, and I will see the results. It looks like it's doing some rounding here. Now, so that's a good way to do a search up here. I can do wildcards, I can do exact matches. Just showed you this range. We can do inclusive and exclusive ranges. You can use the whole range of the Lucene query language in that toolbar. So if you follow that link to take you to the query string language, it can show you how to use field names, wildcards, regular expressions, fuzziness, which is a full text index concept of looking for words that are kind of like the one you're looking at. We could spend a whole day on the Lucene query language, but for now, just know that you can use that search bar to use the whole query. All right, so we've filtered in and out, and now let me show you what these top aggregations are. So if you think about the data that's in Kibana, every document of the same type has the same fields for the most part. So the data we were looking at, and we had that metric set name. So coming out of metric beats, we have a whole bunch of metric set names, and they come out at different intervals. So as we look at data over time, we can see that we'll have more than just one or more than just two, and the frequency of those documents will not be the same. So I'm going to clear out my query here just to show you the whole set. And in this metric set name, I got network and load, process summary, process, network. I know things like load are measurements over time, things about processes come and go regularly. So what we can do over here on the left is find that field. In this case, it's in a selected field at the top. It might be down here if you want to look at other things, and I'll show you that too. And we can see, let's see what the most popular top 5 metric set names are. So we'll find the metric set name field. We'll expand it by clicking on it. And here you can see what it says, the top 5 values in 500 out of 500 records. So you can see the process value comes out 44.6% of the time, network, CPU, memory, process summary. Now this is where filtering out becomes really handy. So if I'm looking for something that's not in the top 5, and I want to get rid of all the noise, I can kind of start at the top and filter out process. So I can say, okay, now show me, recalculate all that for everything without process, and without network, and without CPU, and without memory, and without process summary. So I can go down to things I probably wouldn't have known. So now I have only 4 in my top 5, which means it's all of them being shown. So I can see the most infrequent statistic is uptime. I can see the next is FSStat, file system statistics, then file system and load. So those are my least used values in that field. So that's a good way of filtering down into your data. So you can use this capability for numbers. You can use this capability for strings. Just go on the side over here and find the data you want to look at. Depending, if you have data with random IDs or GUIDs or UUIDs, things like that won't be any good because they'll calculate the same for all of them. But if you want to look at, let's see, if load cores, I'll always have the same number of cores on this server. Uptime duration, I'm curious about this one. It seems to be 1 uptime record. It came about 15 minutes ago. Tells you that the system has been up for 2,719 seconds. so that those filters in and out are real convenient ways of drilling into finding data you don't know exists. All right, so we started talking about the search bar. We talked about the Lucene query language a little bit. Let me just show you how we can build a little bit more complex of a query using some ands, ors, and nots. So we've already seen the nots. So let's start with the metric set name. We'll go to load again just because I know it's good data we can show. Metric set name load, and I'll hit search. So you'll see I did metric set.name : quote load quote. That way I'm doing an exact search for the term load on metric set.name. If I want to then combine that with a range query to see my system load norm, I can do and, all capitals, and system load norm. I'll do a range of 0.1 to 0.2. Close that for the range and we'll search. System load.norm.1 was the actual value. So here now I'm getting things between 0.1 and 0.2. Again, we got some rounding down here, I think. So now I can say, okay, these are when it's really high. Let's find when it's really low as well. Or, so we can use an or statement. System load .1. We'll do a range of 0.02. Oh, but we want to go down, so we want to go 0 to. And now since we're doing we know we want load, and we want to check if either of these exist. So I'm putting parentheses around the two system load norms to say, okay, show me just the data with either of those ranges and metric set load 1. If I did an and an or here, then it would say the end result would be looking for load with a high or a load with a norm of low. So we can set it and we can see I have some 0.1, 0.12. So those are my ranges, my using the and the or Boolean operators with the exact match of load. So again, go look at the Lucene query language. You can do the ranges, the wildcards, the exact matches. Wildcards exist on strings. Exact matches, like we just did, will be an exact value. Could spend a whole couple of days learning about that. So in our next video, we've built some searches. Now we're going to save them and share them with people who are our friends.